Hello friends and enemies, welcome to or back to Happy for Now. It's me Isabel here with the highlight of the month, Romancelandia. I don't know. I was this close to chugging an energy drink before this one. It's not even that this bad one is bad, it's that I know some of the comments I'm going to get. And that's almost worse than knowing it was a bad month. And you'll see when we get there. But first things first, we're going to dive right in. This is where I recap the things I saw happening in the romance space over the last month-ish. Let's talk about it. First things first, I think we have to discuss that Book Harvest was canceled. And I actually, I hate this for people who had flights booked and everything else. Don't get me wrong, because, we're 3 months out. It's in October. But I deeply admire that the organizers of this event, specifically the, main organizer, said, this is not working. This is not going how I need it to go. Whether that's ticket sales, author attendance, all the factors that go into this, and I'm going to cancel it now and refund everybody instead of running an event that sucks. And that for me makes me trust them a lot more as an organizer, a whole lot more, because I think too many events are fails because we didn't cancel them when we should have, okay? But yeah, they didn't feel like they'd sold enough tickets to attendees this year for it to be viable and said, let's cancel now, not a week before, 2 weeks before, or host an event that's not up to par. I know some people that went last year enjoyed it, had some qualms and issues still, but still for the most part, it seemed to be a relatively well-run first-year event. But yeah, I just, I hate this for everybody, but I also am, relieved to see someone actually do the right thing with an event and not just push through to, get the money still, so to speak. Thrilled to see this. Then we have to talk about there were two conversations this month that I just felt like were, So, actually three, and one I'm not really going to cover because I don't feel like it's my place because it's more of a black romance book space thing, and that's not me. And that one's about a narrator. Maybe probably cheating on his wife. Anyways, go to Threads and have a blast looking up, I think his name is Lawrence, for yourself. Truly, it was a wild ride. Wild ride. I'll link to a video down below in which somebody kind of recaps supposedly what happened. But actually, somebody's content I really enjoyed. But yeah, I don't feel like that's my place to cover. But I will talk about this, which kind of spawned in the black romance book space, I believe, but also kind of transferred over. And that is about pen names. So Kennedy Ryan had on her website, her real name, I guess, and that Kennedy Ryan was a pen name at some point. And someone only recently learned this. kind of had people started having meltdowns about pen names and why would you use a pen name and all these things, and I was like, I mean, it's just like actors, right? You don't necessarily want to be signing your full legal name on things for people, and you got to change that signature so it's not your full legal name. But two, everybody deserves the amount of privacy they want. Many people you watch on the internet are not using their real names. I'm too lazy for that. You would yell at me and I would go, huh, me? But I don't exist in this space with access to my partner's name necessarily or visibility to him, as well as those sort of details, because that's my privacy. That's a privacy line I have. You don't see the front of my house, you don't see certain things that would give away exactly where I live or those details, because safety, and that's part of a pen name, right, is safety, because when you are an author and you end up making it big and it's your personal name, I've seen many express regrets to not using a pen name. I've seen that expressed multiple times, especially for their safety. And I just think it's that thing of I don't know, maybe I'm weird and maybe other people don't feel this way. I've blanket assumed majority of the authors I read are using pen names, not their actual name. Hot take. I've just always assumed that. And I feel like their pen names fit them and that's fine. That's all that matters, right? So maybe I'm wrong and everybody else is not living in the same assumptions I'm living in, but I was just why are we surprised? But yeah, people then posted her full name in things and were this is Kennedy Ryan's actual name, and hey, don't do that also. But yeah, it was weird. I don't know. The pen name conversation was new. I don't know that I've seen that discussion before to that extent. So I was pretty surprised. But yeah, as a reminder, the creators you follow, the authors, anybody you follow on the internet can use fake names. Two, it's totally okay to do that. And they don't owe you their full legal identity? Like, that's weird. That's weird. So yeah, that was a new one. And then, this is the thing that I don't, like, we have to talk about it. It has gone too far and wide to not talk about it, but I'm dreading. Because so much of this conversation has just gotten out of hand and disgusting, to say the least. So, Haunting Adeline's getting a movie. I've expressed many qualms with certain content in that book series. Not that if someone enjoys it, but qualms around the, like, QAnon level conspiracy theories that H.G. Carlson claims were from her own head. That's fine. Go you. Do I think conspiracy theories also kind of work like that? Like, yeah, I feel like they're all kind of repeats of each other, right? So, cool. There was anti-Semitism with blood libel and certain things in this book. H.G. Carlson wouldn't fix that. And I have deep respect. There's a Romancelandia in which I discussed this. I have deep respect for the way in which she accepted the criticism and immediately fixed it. Because there are not a lot of authors that accept that criticism and immediately fix it and don't go on the defensive. So, I love that. I've read the first book in this series. It's not for me. Not because of its content, honestly, just mostly because I just didn't enjoy the setup of it. I like a bonkers crazy book. I read stuff like Haunting Adeline and Fix all the time. It's fine. But yeah, H.G. Carlson got on the internet and was like, we're adapting it. We start filming in October. We have no news on distribution, I need to note. So anyone telling you it's going to a certain place, I've not seen any confirmation of this. But the announcement that this book is being adapted, a book that is honestly constantly in the discourse discussion, it is constantly the example of this is what's wrong with the dark romance genre, this is what's wrong with people who read romance, this is what's wrong with blah, 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 blah. And the argument is always, some people find this healing who have experienced trauma, and then they have to expose their traumas that they experienced, which is wrong. We should not have to share our experience as victims to certain acts to be valid in reading dark romance. And that's been weird. There's also, one of the other outcomes has been people making weird posts on TikTok and other places threatening violence against people who enjoy Haunting Adeline. And that's also weird. That's also weird. I think all of the issues and discussions around Haunting Adeline are people problems, not the book's problem. It's a problem when people romanticize certain things or turn them into fantasies that they want to reenact that they should not be reenacting because they are dangerous. But also, if they do reenact certain things with this, they are actually operating in a space in which they've previously consented to the things. So it would be consent, non-consent, though the book itself is not consent, non-consent. I mean, you're consenting as the reader because you've read the trigger warnings, assuming, and all that stuff, but the book itself is not consent, non-consent. But if you went and reenacted that, you would be setting up that scene, that activity, and that would be consent, non-consent. I hope this makes sense. But yeah, I just think it's weird, the reactions that we're seeing. It's not weird at the same time, because I have been in the romance space for a very long time, y'all, and some of it feels very like, oh, you're just like 20 and you've not been around long enough to have known that this is how these conversations go and where they head and why that's not okay, maybe. And that's not an insult to anyone who watches me and is younger. I'm just saying, like, there's an element of like, oh yeah, you are kind of young to not realize that this is a cyclical discourse. But I do think right now it is way too early to make any judgment calls on what this adaptation is going to look like, how it's going to work, what's going to be in it, what's going to make it in the final cut. Like, we just don't know yet. But I will say this, the biggest issue I'm having with the arguments being made, besides the, like, people being forced to, like, tell you their trauma to be okay and reading this genre, is that people are taking the exact same arguments we had against bodice rippers back in the day. Now, I was not alive by any means when The Flame and the Flower came out, but, like, that is a classic bodice. That is the first bodice ripper romance. He rapes the heroine in that book, and then they still end up together. There are things in 70s and 80s bodice ripper romances that are exactly like a lot of these books in dark romance now. It was a natural evolution to this, okay? To an extent that I would say bodice rippers are the pre-dark romance genres, like dark romance in a way. And you have to think about when these were written. You have to put these in the context of the world around you, because romance books do not exist in a vacuum, y'all. Romance books exist in a space that the real world is influencing them. Love it or hate it, argue with the wall. The real world is, in fact, influencing romance books around you. Hence, like, the conspiracy theory stuff in Haunting Adeline. That book was written in peak conspiracy time, y'all. Like, yeah. So I think the thing with that conversation, though, back in the day with bodice rippers is, I'm going to use gendered language here. Obviously, I do not agree with this gendered language, but this is how the argument would have been made, correct? You know, a woman cannot differentiate these things, these acts in a book with real life. They don't know the difference. They cannot tell the difference between a fictional book that they're reading or thing they're watching, in this case, and real life. And they're going to just think this is okay. When perhaps a lot of the women reading bodice rippers back then were reading them because they did live in situations in which marital rape existed for them. And maybe reading that on page was very healing to find love with that person after. There's just so many scenarios we don't know now today in 2026. And then the other thing I was thinking is, like, this is going to make men think this is what women want. This is going to, like, convince them that, like, obviously this is what women want and we're not telling them. And I just got to say, it doesn't take any convincing to convince an abuser that that's what you want or that is something people desire. There is zero convincing needed. Those people are going to do those acts. There's a whole movie, a whole documentary about men who have abused, about people who have abused other people. And they're, like, gleefully retelling the abuse they put onto their partner. I saw some clips of it and I was like, I could never watch this. I would be, like, sobbing. But also, like, those people are going to do those things no matter what. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if a Haunting Adeline is in front of them or not. It doesn't matter if they watch the thing and it titillates them. Because just because something fictionally or in a show or whatever turns you on does not mean you're going to go reenact that thing in real life. Because these are adult books and we have to operate under the assumption that it is an adult reading the book. Okay? I understand that there's concerns and pearl clutching over children getting their hands on these books, and that is the fault of the parent, okay? That is not the fault of the author, the book genre, or anyone else who reads it. It is the fault of parents not checking what their children are doing on the internet. And that's a whole other separate conversation. And I will say this. It is a lot harder, I know now, to watch your child on the internet, but perhaps that's also an argument to keep your damn kid off the internet for longer. We're at least with more parental controls and guide rails in place. So yeah, I'm just exhausted. I'm exhausted seeing people have to pour out this trauma. I don't want to relive my trauma all the time to justify a thing I do or don't like in a book. Nor should I have to. I shouldn't have to announce to the world these things. No one should. And we also just, like, it is bananas to me that we continue to have the same conversations, just evolving through different genres. Like, used to be, like, romance books were smut book talk books, like, worthless brain rot. Now, romantasy is smut like, worthless brain rot. Now, dark romance is our bodice ripper of old turned new. And, you know, God forbid anyone want to read something like that. And I just think it's okay. Like, it's gonna be okay. I promise you. It doesn't have to be for you because not everything has to be for everybody. And, like, that's a beautiful thing to realize. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna be out here defending dark romance for the rest of my life. All right, some fun stuff and things I want your opinions on before we go into, like, actual fun stuff in the bingo board. Okay, I want to talk about some discourse stuff because I feel like a lot of romancelandia is just cyclical discourse. We know this. It happens all the time. But we had an evolution of said cyclical discourse this month. I saw a creator I follow respond to some critiques around them reading a book too fast. And, like, that was faster than the audiobook. I don't think you could read that many pages that quick, etc., etc. So that creator, she took a book and an audiobook and timed herself reading the book and read it in, like, I think it would have taken her a 3.6 or something speed on audio to read it at the same pace. And basically be like, listen, some people just read fast. And I thought this evolution of, like, you read it even faster than the audiobook, that's impossible, is wild. That is a wild new take I've never seen before. Because, like, if y'all don't know, audiobooks are actually recorded slower than normal speaking pace. And I'm a fast talker-ish. Like, I definitely am not, like, a slow-paced talker. And I like, it's the ADHD, right? Like, I cannot. But, like, yeah, I'm not surprised. Most audiobooks, if I take them at least half 2.5 to the speed is about my reading time. 2.5 to 3. Somewhere in there is usually my reading time. And that's about what I listen at now too. It was just kind of weird to see someone, one, have this critique. Because that was just totally new. And on top of that, like, I just want to remind you, reading's a skill. I don't know what to tell you. Reading is a skill. The more you do it, the faster you get, somewhat. You're going to top out at some point. I'm not saying you're not. But the more you do it, the faster you're going to get. Because at the same time, we're having another cyclical discourse / engagement bait situation. And it has inspired me to ask y'all, have a request of y'all. And that situation is, tons of people have been posting about how those big book talk and book influencers you see, they're lying. They didn't read that many books this year. Or they don't read that many books. They're lying to you. And I just would love to remind everyone that, one, if you want to make money, the bookish space is not it. Like, you can make, I'm not saying you can't make a living. You can make a living in this space. But you are not making the same amount of money as lifestyle influencers and other people if you can break into that niche. You really aren't. I just think it's funny that people are like posting this and people in the comments are like, yeah, I know this person or that person. I was just like, whose time is it worth to lie about what you read? Because that's all I'm thinking. Is like, whose time is it worth? No one's. I'm in competition with no one but myself. And even then, I don't give a shit enough to care to be in competition with myself. So yeah, that cyclical discourse is back. Because trust me, I have seen that they're lying to you about how much they read discourse over and over and over again at this point. So I would like to present you with some new discourse options that we could start as a group, as a community here, perhaps. I think one of the things we could do is where you read. It depends on if your reading counts. If you are just reading in bed all the time, that doesn't count anymore. Like, you cannot read in the same place constantly. And reading in bed is just cheating. Because, like, you're comfy and are you even reading? Like, aren't you just falling asleep? Come on now. The other thing is the airport does not count for your reading. Because airport time is real. As in, time doesn't exist at the airport. Thus, how are you reading a book in a place that time doesn't exist? And how does that count towards your reading goal when time doesn't exist there? I'm just saying, go start a fight in the comments with somebody about that one. I also want to say that how you read depends on if it counts. And I'm not saying that about audiobooks. Audiobooks count in this scenario. But what if, like, you read it on your phone? Like, if you're reading on your Kindle app with endless scroll, aren't you just reading fanfic at that point and not actually reading a book? But your audiobooks count. Remember, audiobooks count. But, like, let's spice it up a little. Instead of audiobooks, it's like, oh, you use continuous scroll, that doesn't count. Oh, you read exclusively on your phone, that doesn't count. I'm just saying, we could start some fun fights. I also think another fun one could be that if you aren't reading aesthetically, like ASMR video in the background, cozy blanket, hot beverage, little snack, you know, it is just an aesthetic dream, you're not reading. I just think that could be funny. I just am saying. Also, another one that is hilarious, because not everyone gets this from exercise, but if you read while you exercise, it's not reading because your endorphins are affecting your review. And I just think that would be very funny. I'm just saying, I think that would be very, very funny. And those are some of my suggestions. Obviously, I want y'all's in the comments because I am this close to starting to post short form content of me starting shit with some weird ass takes about what is and isn't reading. Because why not? Because I am so bored. I'm not bored. I'm just tired of it being the same thing all over again. So I would just love to see something really weird pop off again. I need it. I dream of it. I dream of it. Give me something fresh to argue with you about. All right, let's talk about some fun stuff. And then we'll do the bingo board. This is a quickie this month, which feels good. First of all, Annie Davenport's dystopian romance is coming to Backer Kit, and that's really excited. It didn't get picked up traditionally, so she's bringing it to Backer Kit to launch, and I'm very excited to see how that goes. I don't know if this is fun, but surprise! Colleen Hoover is producing Love Theoretically by Allie Hazelwood for Amazon Studios. I don't know if I said that right. I have had so many takes of me trying to say that word, and my brain is like, every time. Let's see. We are getting a sapphic monster anthology in 2027 that I'm very excited for. It's called Gemstone Hearts. I'll link to it down below. I'll also say that Sarah Blue's Marriage, Hex, and Fang arrangements have been picked up for film rights, which, okay, I'm not opposed. I would love some more paranormal romance movies, personally. All right, let's talk about the bingo board, and then we'll wrap this thing up. So I'm going to put event fails for Book Harvest because, like, it's a fail, but it's not. But I think it counts. Because it feels like it was going to be a fail if we didn't cancel. Isn't reading. The influx on TikTok this month of just, like, that doesn't count, this doesn't count, that way's not valid. People are lying. We definitely got another, this isn't reading. I also am going to say we got another books aren't political because there's a huge split in the Haunting Adeline discourse of people saying that H.G. Carlson's a MAGA and lying about being liberal. People saying that, like, only MAGA, like, haunting, like, things like that. Like, it's very politically coded, like, charge the conversation, and I just think it's fascinating because I definitely don't think a book in which, listen, I get it, because some of the contents of Haunting Adeline, I can see it, but I just think it's funny because I feel like there are certain people who are like, well, this book is just reaffirming my political beliefs on each side, and it's fascinating. So I think this one counts as books aren't political because I'm seeing a lot of political discussions around within this discourse as well. So I think that counts. On that note, that's everything for this month's Romancelandia. Let me know what weird discourse you're going to go start, please and thank you, in the comments. If you don't do any of that, you can leave me a pop emoji because I am actually shocked I haven't downed this yet, but here we are. I'm going to finish it in a second. You can leave that down below. As always, if you hung out this long and you're interested in early access to things like Romancelandia, my Discord, and other fun things, there are links down below to become a member. There's a tier for just Romancelandia early access and early access to a bunch of other stuff. My Discord's pretty cool. I won't lie. I do think my Discord's the coolest group of people. I also do co-working sprints every week there with them when I'm in town and all that good stuff. So if you're interested, that's all down there, and links to everything I talked about is down there as well. And I will see y'all in just a few days in my next video. Bye!
Already packing, come with me. I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be. Life with no distractions. We'll get away. This is what we